So we wait. So Carl, what we're going to do is like we're going to get people like in all that stuff, and then we'll introduce you to the picture. All right.
No, no problem.
All right, let's go. Let's get it started. Go in live.
Watching the live stream right now.
Nice. I think we are live now.
Are we? We had a little mishap on the last time.
We did. We did.
Couldn't hear us.
Nobody could hear us, anything, nothing.
If
But
you can hear us and see us, please let us know in the chat so we don't make the same mistake that we did on the
last live, yeah. So a little thumbs up. That's all. That's all we need from you. So just let us know. A little thumbs up if you can hear us. Now, if you're watching, where are you watching from? We want to know, like, from where, because I know some people like it's midnight and they're still.
Last time we had people from Ireland,
Ireland,
Canada,
yeah. And I believe one of our lives we have people
Chile.
from like Australia, and I'm like, should be sleeping by now. But I mean, I'm very excited for today's live. Today's live, it's like very, very, very exciting because this is the very first time we are going to have
a guest.
a guest.
Yes.
And yeah, we haven't had we never had a guest, so it's just it's going to be our very first time, and I'm very excited because some of you know who this guest is, and I'm pretty excited to be interviewing or talking to this guest because he was there when I was doing my my pilot training. He didn't know, but I was watching YouTube, learning how to talk to ATC, which to me as a non-English speaker was like my biggest fear. But I didn't realize like that's the big fear for everybody, even if you're a native English speaker. So that was like me watching on YouTube how to talk to the tower, and then I came across with this guy, and then just taught me how to do it, even though he didn't know until like. So it's very, very exciting. So let's see. So let us know where you're watching from, and then let's see. We can have So I see our guest is also watching our live. So why don't we get to introduce our guest? So today we have Carl from Fly with the Guys join us live on YouTube. Let's see. Let's make us fit here. There we are. There we are. So Carl, welcome to our channel. Thank you for joining us today. We're very excited, as I mentioned earlier today, and you have been on YouTube for quite a while. How did all of this started?
Yeah, so I've been on, like you said, I've been on YouTube quite a while. Was just thinking about it. Next year will be 10 years on YouTube, believe it or not. So, but not all of that has been, I didn't really start making videos solid until like 2018, but no, I've always had an interest in flying. And so 2015, my son needed to go to a scout meeting thing. They were going to go to the airport, and they went to the airport. I had to take my son because a parent had to come, and we're looking at the airplane, and I remembered as a kid, I loved airplanes. Like, seriously, I was always looking up at the sky. I was taking classes on airplane. Every book I checked out of the library was an airplane. And it finally just reminded me of my passion for flying. And so from there, it just kind of snowballed. I started hanging out at the airports. I made friends with instructors. I started going on flights with even students. They needed dead weight in the back of the airplane. And so I started going on flights and everything, and it just snowballed so quickly. And then by 2018, I had gotten my own pilot certificate, and I had started making videos on YouTube. And the reason I really truly started was because I had a passion for video and editing and making content, but it was really about me trying to learn something. And when I made a video, I would do a deep dive into something so that I could feel like I could talk about it. And so I started making videos on answering the questions that I was struggling with as a student pilot. Like, how much is this going to cost? How long is it going to take? How do I talk to air traffic control? And there was no good answers anywhere on YouTube or really on the internet unless someone was trying to sell you something. And I'm like, I can fix this. And so that's really how the birth of the channel all started. Just started making videos, answering the hard questions, making really interesting content to teach people. Like one of my coolest ones right now is I made a video on airspace using Minecraft, the video game, and because I was able to get in there and say, this is what class D looks like, this is what class Bravo looks like a visual representation just taken straight from a chart and put on a screen in 3D. It's just that's the type of content that helps people out incredibly, and that's really what I'm here to do now, is to try to inspire new pilots and help them along the way. So that's kind of the genesis of my channel.
Well, and Ricardo is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
I remember. I remember. I think you called you called Level Aviation, and he recognized your voice. Like when he hung up, he's like, "I like, is that or who?"
That was Daniel. No, that was Daniela, I think.
What's the story behind it?
So Daniela, I think we were talking on the phone because my sister, she's also a pilot too, and I think we were talking on the phone, and then she just was sitting across the room here in my office, and she was like, "Is that like the YouTube guy?" And I'm like, "How do you know?" It's like, "Well, I recognize the voice. I watch a lot of his YouTube video when she came here to also learn how to fly." So she was like, because I usually have my phone speaker. It's a lot easier for me. And she was like, just on her phone, just waiting for me. And then I was talking here, just regular stuff. And then she was like, "I recognize that voice." Is that the guy from YouTube? And I'm like, "Yep, yep."
It's
That's
funny
it.
that you say that, because even at my own airport, I have my hangar open working on the airplane, and people pull up all the time. They're like, "Are you that guy on YouTube?"
Yeah, everybody has those like the way to say things and
Signatures.
yeah, signatures. So it's very funny that you mentioned that. So, well, let's get into. I mean, it's pretty interesting. It's definitely helped us out a lot when you're doing through your training career. We also like here in Stanford. We also like running a little flight school, and definitely help a lot of the students, because like just talking to tower, that's a big struggle, and then all of these things about airspaces, and there's just a lot of information coming through, and there's a lot of great videos online too as well. So the way you explain things are really cool. So.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the project that you're working right now, which I think it's pretty cool if you ask me. So tell us a bit. So you're building right now, well, not building, restoring a J3 Cub, right? So how did that
We'll go
start?
with rebuilding. Yeah.
Rebuilding. There you go.
So I already kind of told you the slogan for my whole channel, which is to inspire new pilots and help them along the way. And so a lot of the videos that we've had in the past are to help them along the way. And so I'm like, I want to do an inspiring project to show people kind of lifestyle of building an airplane. And the whole idea behind it was, you're a student pilot, you're going to the airport, and every single day you drive by this old decrepit airplane that's just sitting there. And like, man, if I could just buy that and fix it, that's really what I want to do. And so I'm like, I could show people what it really takes to rebuild an airplane. And so I started looking for one, and I found one, and then realized, man, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm buying an airplane, and I'm trying to make one of the coolest planes that I possibly can, because that's what's more inspiring, not finding an airplane and rebuilding it. I'm trying to show people the fun side of aviation, the things that you can do with it outside of just flying and being a pilot. And so, again, that's all part of the inspirational part. So I spent some time looking for an airplane, and I couldn't find quite the right one. And just one day out of the blue, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go down to the salvage yard. And we have two of them here in the Phoenix area that I know of. There might be more. So I drove down there. I'm like, hey, what projects you have that can be rebuilt? And they had one there. Wasn't really my cup of tea. They're like, well, hey, the other location has a J3 Cub. And I'm like, well, that could be interesting depending on its condition. So I go over there, I take a look at the plane, and I'm like, this is perfect. It's not too far gone. It's definitely salvageable, and it's really cool. Most J3 Cubs are painted yellow. And I'm like, this one's red with white stripes. It just looks like it's going fast already, even though I know they're slow planes. Like, this is unreal airplane. At the time, I was still thinking of showing people to rebuild the airplane. And over time, it kind of molded more into the inspirational side of things, of really cool and innovative stuff, because most people, especially in the J3 community, they hate my airplane. And that's weird. But it's because it's not, yeah, it's not yellow. And this airplane had a version done in the 70s. It went from a, what was it, 85 horsepower engine to 160 horsepower engine. They did a over 20 conversion on it. And so it's now experimental. And so the two things that are all the time is the paint, make it expand, and then paint it yellow and take it back certified. And I'm like, nah, we're too far gone for that right now. So we're just going to go crazy.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's funny because I have a friend of mine also back home. He also has a Cub, but it's blue. So
yeah,
it's not a cool cut for a Cub. But I do like the look of the airplane. Also, you have the interesting for the airplane. You call it the red rocket, right?
Red rocket, that came to me because I purchased the airplane. I looked at the registry of who before me, and I got a hold of a guy, the two owners, previous. And A, he tried to buy the airplane back from me immediately, and B, he called it a rocket himself with that larger engine on the front of it. And so that kind of inspired me to get totally red. He's calling it a rocket. Anyone tell there's a larger engine on it said, man, that's like a rocket. And I'm like, well, this makes sense. So red rocket.
That's interesting. That's really all of the I have any questions for all of us. Just on chat, but we're gonna get through them middle of the whole interview. But also, you designed the whole element. So what was there for? What are now?
I have a question, Carl. So prior to this project, did you work on any airplanes? Do you have any knowledge on rebuilding an airplane?
Nope. No, I worked
Into
in the past. Yeah, believe it or not, not a whole lot of university for these things. There's a couple of them out there, but for me, I've always had the mindset of trying to figure out how things work. So tearing things apart, putting them back together, rebuilding it, fixing things. That's always been my mentality of stuff. I like working in cars. I consider it therapeutic, but I've never done it for like a profession or anything. And so looking at an airplane, it's not complicated at all. It's a fairly simple basic machine. And even one that I have, even more basic, like the 70 that I was learning to fly in. And the engine is all 1970 or no, older than that, what is 40, 50 technology. So it's just nothing is complicated at all. It's just know how to do it, when to do it, especially when working on the engine. But I have friends that are mechanics that help me through the process.
That's good.
Hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Is it going to clean? Nah.
Now, looking on this, because it's not like cars do end like once a couple of years, like some things are up. So aviation, everything is different. Like we're talking about maybe normally in aviation, my airplane is kind of new. It's from like the 1990s. But have you had any troubles like on when it comes to finding parts and things like that for this aircraft?
Thankfully, the J3 Cub is fairly basic, and they continue to make parts for those for several years. I think there's over 20,000 J3 Cubs manufactured.
Wow.
And the pacer, there's all kinds of interchangeable parts. So no, I haven't run into any parts availability problems. And there's other companies out there that are purely selling brand new parts that they're just building for people. Like Univair, you can buy every piece that you need to be able to build an entirely new Cub if you wanted to.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool. So I haven't run into any of that. What I have run into is when I want to modify something. When I'm like, oh, I want to do this a little bit differently. Or I want to put this material here instead of that material. Working through those things, I would say that's the hardest part. For instance, my carbon fiber flooring that I put in the airplane, much more modern technology when it's supposed to be wood. But at the time I was working on it, things were going on inside of the world that was making it so the delivery of the wood that was required for my flooring, the price went up exponentially, and it was cheaper to buy the carbon fiber flooring. So then I had to think through this. you can't have carbon fiber and aluminum because they start getting corrosive towards each other. So how am I going to get this inside of the airplane? I need to make sure it's on steel. I need to make sure all of the bolts and everything are compatible. Those are the types of things that I've had to work through, that I've had to learn about, and make sure that when I'm putting everything together, that it's safe and functional and not going to cause problems in the future. So yeah.
Interesting. Well, tell us then about the panel, like what you had before, what's in there now. I know because you changed the whole thing. I'm assuming do you keep anything of the all instruments or not?
I'm not keeping a single one of the old instruments, and the J3 came pretty darn basic. No, nothing outside of mechanical, no digital anything. Obviously, they didn't have it then. And these were always meant to be VFR aircraft. So, I mean, you got your airspeed, you got your altitude, and your horizon was a tube that had a ball inside of it that would roll around inside of the tube to tell you how you had your attitude of the airplane. But there was no forward pitch or upwards. Everything was done visually. So now this is where I always say this is the airplane that our J3 Cub that shouldn't exist, because I've got a full panel inside of the thing. Front and center are you guys. I have an iPad being run by an iLevel AP. And
Nice.
to
Full
me,
autopilot.
that full autopilot, and that to me is going to be incredibly exciting, because the way that I fly, I mean, a lot of us use an electronic chart these days. And so that's going to be huge to me, to be able to use that inside of this airplane when I'm going places and doing things in my own area. But I'm taking this plane to new places that I've never been before, which is going to be very exciting. So that's where that eye-level AP is going to be huge for me, because it's going to alleviate a lot of the workload that I have flying this airplane from place to place. So, and then I'm excited to be able to be using my iPad to do all of that split screen. You guys have done a really good job at what you've made there, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on your live stream. Like, I truly mean that.
Little bias.
It's good stuff. But so to back that up, I've got aircraft automation has a little tiny round dial EFIS thing that's going on there. And that's like my complete backup, all the things, should my iPad, which is what I'm really worried about failing, overheating or something. So I always have that going on. Trig Avionics has jumped in and given us a radio and transponder, and it's their little tiny guys. And so
They're
my
great. I
panel is
have them on the
literally,
FN too.
yeah, my panel's only this big, and so you get your iPad there, and it's like, well, there's only room for switches now. So having these little devices to be able to put there has been incredibly helpful. And then the other major component is going to be the EIS, Engine Information System, from GRT, to feed back into your guys' product again, so that on my iPad I have all the critical information that I need while I'm flying. And that is a very, very stark difference from what this airplane came with originally, and it's probably going to be the only J3 Cub flying in the world with this much technology put into it. So
It's the highest tech
for that,
J3 Cup out there.
what was that?
It's the highest in tech for the J3 Cup out there.
Absolutely. So I'm just excited to be able to have something kind of like a showpiece of being able to work with such great companies to do incredible things to an airplane that, to be honest, I'm kind of angry with Garmin, just because their stuff is so complicated, and to be able to put that inside of a J3 Cub, I think is such an overkill. But companies like you guys make it so simple to put stuff inside of the airplane that make it completely change it into something much better than it could have been. Like, I wish your guys' stuff was certified so more J3 owners could throw this stuff in it.
That's probably one of the goals and things like that. We want to make aviation a little bit more affordable, let's say, and that's like our end goal. So that's something that it has been our project for quite a while. That's kind of how Levil Aviation started.
Well, we started with experimentals because that's where my dad, that's where I grew up with, and Ricardo and my dad, like building airplanes in the garage of the house. And so for for experimentals and home builds, having a full pack like EFIS system, sometimes it's an overkill. So it's amazing how this type of products, in less than a pound, gives you all the technology uh, of a rocket.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Shuttle, space shuttle.
Yeah. We have a little space shuttle. Yeah.
And the iPads made that possible, and all the app developers, which I think it's the most amazing thing about the iPad centric cockpit is that the eye level basically just has information, the sensors, and it broadcasts this. How you display it is up to the user. And because it's an iPad and you can, update it easily, you don't even realize when there's an update to the app because it just happens automatically. And if the app is discontinued and not supported and somebody comes up with a better app, you're always going to be up to date as the technology progresses, versus staying with 40-year-old technology that happens in the airplanes today. Because
Yeah.
changing, you then need a mechanic, then you need so many things that it's just very expensive to do, versus using iPad centric cockpit or a Levil Aviation centric cockpit, where whatever comes next, it's going to be compatible.
I see somebody in the chat asking you if you have installed the Joy already.
Who's asking?
You guys did send me a Joy-Con. I have prepared for the installation, but I have not installed it yet. I'm trying to get through this engine startup, and once that's done, that will be coming. And when I say prepared, the way that the Joy installs is my control stick was already tall enough where it barely hit my panel when it was fully forward. And so I had to cut that back. So I've already done all my measurements and everything. I cut it down. So when I put the Joy on, it's going to be perfect. So I'm actually really excited about that. Watching you guys' live stream, what was it, just last week
Last
on
week,
that?
yeah.
It's
Last week.
the technology you guys have put into this, like I am so excited and legitimately excited. And one of the things I'm most excited about is that electric trim. I can take the trim in my airplane, I can just set it and forget about it unless I have an emergency where I need to use it, because I can just use the trim on the eye level. It's going to be great.
Yeah. If you haven't had the chance to check out our live or our videos about the Joy, go to our website, levilaviation.com, so you can have full information about the Joy. So go ahead and check that out. It's pretty interesting as well. All of the stuff that you can do
It's a
in the
wireless
palm of your hand. Yeah.
autopilot control in the palm of your hands, basically on the grip. And we integrated scroll wheels and push to talk buttons and everything you need so that you can fly the airplane easily from the grip. But check it out.
So let's talk about time. How much time have you invested so far, and how much time there is left?
No, a better question is because this happened to me. I didn't rebuild an airplane or build an airplane, but I purchased a van and I said, oh, I'm gonna turn it into a house on wheel. This should take me whatever 6 months, and 2.5 years later, I finished the van. Did you
Airplanes are like that,
underestimate
but I
the
think
time
worse.
on this project?
Yes, when I got the project, I thought I was going to have it flying in about 6 months. And in March, I will have owned the airplane for 2 years, but I didn't get started on it until I want to say June 2 years ago. So I really have till June from when the official start date from repairing it was. But a lot of it comes down to me wanting to make those fun modifications to the airplane to make it bigger, better, stronger, in my opinion. And so it's research, it's buying parts, getting it all put together, and then trying to install it in the airplane and realizing this is wrong. This isn't going to work. And so then it's getting the parts again. And maybe sometimes the reason I was doing that route was to try to save a little money. and then going and realizing, no, the expensive way is the right way to do it, and then having to get the money together, buy the part, and fix it. And just, I think the thing that has drug it out the longest is just my mind. And it's me overthinking something to try to make sure that it's safe, that it's done right, and those things. And so it keeps me from progressing, because when you're looking at a part and you're like, as soon as I cut this, as soon as I change this wire or do that, that's permanent to the airplane. And if not, then it's going to take me, I have to get a welder, or I have to extend a wire. There's just so much going on. And so I keep myself from progressing. And I've gotten past a lot of that, and I'm moving forward, and you bite the bullet and you do it. And then the last thing that has, I think, made this project longer than it's supposed to be is really just parts availability. Because as I've been working the plane, I've had a lot of great people join me, like you guys, to be able to make this an incredible airplane. But that takes time. And when you're working with manufacturers that make the parts versus the person who sells the parts, I could order it all day long from Aircraft Spruce, but I've got to wait for the part from the sponsor to ship it to me directly. And that can take time based off of when their next manufacturing schedule is, or maybe even a new part they haven't released yet. Anyways, that's going on the airplane that they're excited to share with the rest of the world. And so it's taken me longer because of that. But I think the longest thing is just because my primary job is a stay-at-home father. And all of this YouTube stuff, all the aviation stuff that I do is my side gig. And believe it or not, my kids will all be here in about 30 minutes. And so they may be banging on the door. Who knows? We'll just cross that road when we get there.
Now, I don't know if you want to share, but you have a pretty interesting company name for all your aviation stuff.
Yes, I do. So some of you guys know this, and for those of you who don't, when you go and you're buying an airplane, one of the best things that you can do is put your airplane inside of a business name, a limited liability company to be more specific, an LLC. And fortunately, I was talking to my wife about this, and we wanted to put everything inside of an LLC. And well, what should we call it? Should we just call it Fly with the Guys, or should we do something different and then use a doing business as Fly with the Guys? And my wife's like, you should just call it Business for Airplane Crap, because that's all you're doing. And I'm like, that's it. Go and find out. Oh yeah, that's available. Register. So my business, my official business name is Business for Airplane Crap LLC. There you go.
That's
You
hilarious.
see, Ananda wanted to take the name and she saw it was not available. She was like, I wonder who took it.
Now, why? That's an interesting point. Why is it better to put it under an LLC? If you could share the tricks of why.
It's better. It's a liability. Your business is protected from your personal assets. So if you did everything as a sole proprietorship, meaning I own the airplane, it's inside of my name, and heaven forbid, I crash the airplane into somebody's house, I've destroyed their property, injured somebody, heaven forbid, killed someone, and let's just hope I survive in some way as well. They can come after me personally for all the damages. If the aircraft is separated into an LLC, they sue the LLC because it's the aircraft that crashed into the house. And so there's a level of protection for you that is there. And that's why a lot of people do it.
Interesting. Okay.
Huh, that's pretty
So,
interesting.
Yeah, it's more about protecting yourself.
Nice. Now, there's well, do you have a question?
Well, going back to the build, like underestimating time, I also underestimated costs in my van. Did you underestimate cost, or was it pretty much on your budget, including like sponsorship and everything?
Yes and no. I knew that the major parts I could probably work with companies to do great things, but there's a lot of odds and ends that I've had to purchase, and it's been painful. When you're like, I need a fuel selector. Okay, a good fuel selector is $400 to $600. It's like, and I'm not used to those numbers. So yes, thankfully, my YouTube channel has been doing well enough that all the money that I've been able to receive of that has been able to go back into the project, go back into my personal flying. So this whole project, this everything has not touched my personal finances. But to answer your question, yes, it has gone over budget in my mind, because you go and you're like, oh, I only need this, this, and this, and I can get everything going. No, there's about 100 other parts instead of those 3 that you thought of that need to go with it. And some of those are just like nuts and bolts. It's you don't realize a little nut this size is $25.
Yeah. And then they add up,
But
and
it's
now I need a
critical.
bunch of them.
Yep. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, I invested almost everything into that this last year. So yeah. So time and cost grossly underestimated on my side, but we're getting really, really close here. As soon as startup happens, everything else buttons up pretty quick. So yeah, timeline it's coming to an end, and I'm ready. I'm ready for it to come to an end, because I want to do some great things with it as a project. So
Cool.
Now it's there. Do you have, once the airplane is built, do you have already a plan on what that first flight is going to be, that cross country? Because I'm assuming that will be the end goal. So there has to be like a destination
Mine was to go to Patagonia. I haven't been.
there are a lot of things that I want to do with this. So first, I'm going to be going on a small, like, Western United States tour. And I'm going to go try to visit as many other content creators as I possibly can, and taking the airplane there and doing collaboration videos with them. So I'm hoping to go on a 2-week trip of just hopping from place to place to place and meeting other creators. And I've already reached out to a handful of them to be able to connect to do those things. And a lot of them are excited. And if all goes well, I'm hoping to do that around April or May.
Okay.
To get that done. And I have another project that it's going to be big that I want to talk about on that trip, but I can't talk about it here. But it's a huge change to what we're doing here on my side, and I think it's going to be incredible and truly go back to the roots of inspiring pilots and helping them along the way. So it's
Well,
it's huge.
Or whatever it is, we wish you luck.
Yeah. And it sounds to me like we're going to be doing another live with Carl to see when the new project is, when that comes out. Yeah, we definitely have to talk about that when that time comes.
It's not going to be an airplane per se. It's not going to be another build project, but it's going to be something just life-changing for the channel. Basically, it's going to be awesome.
Nice, man. Anticipation now. So we have some comments from people online. We have somebody, Brian from Canada. He said he loves your videos and thank you for sharing aviation knowledge and passion. I mean, that's great. Thank you, Brian, for your comments here.
Yes, thank you, Brian. I love
seen,
hearing stuff like that.
I've seen a couple of builders, like, I'm building so and so.
Mm-hmm.
What is your take? Like, do you have anything to say to all the pilots out there that are in the process? Like, any words of wisdom?
Just patience and do it right. Patience and do it right. Make sure you're using the right materials, the right like adhesives. Do it right, because it's your life inside of the end, and safety is the most important thing. If you build a part and you get to the end and it's slightly wrong, you're like, oh, I can modify it to make it right. And if the modification is questionably safe, just throw it away, do it again. I can't tell you the number of times that I've redone things just because I want this to be the safest project. So just be safe, do it right, and trust the guidance of others who have been there before. Yeah.
That's interesting. So if you're building an airplane out there, patience is number one.
Yes.
We also
absolutely.
have is what size iPad it's in the Cub.
This size. Mini.
And that is taking all of your space, huh?
Unfortunately, almost yes.
Yeah,
It
that's
really is. My panel is only 2 feet wide and it's only about this tall.
wow.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, we have like
it
the big iPad Pro and we still have a lot of space left on the RV. Let's see what other questions we
yes.
have here. I don't even have a plane and I have watched the videos. Makes me want to get experimental just for the tech nerd and stuff I can do.
Um,
That's cool.
I'm with you on
experimental is
that
the way
one.
to go.
Experimental is the way to go. Yeah.
Experimental. And that's part of what drew me to this project as well, is it was experimental. I could do whatever I wanted. And I've had guys stop in and they fly like a 172. They're like, I can't do that, but I want to do that. And it's like, well, that's why we're over here, because we get to do cool things. If you just strictly want to fly and go do that, yeah, go buy a certified airplane. If you like tinkering, improving, and doing cool things, experimental's where it's at.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everybody.
Yeah.
But if you do want to venture out and you're a tech nerd and you want to play with new things, innovation, definitely experimental is the way to go.
Yep.
So another question that I have here, if you could fly anyone on your J3 Cub, who would that be? Anyone in
My
history?
daughter.
Volunteer.
Anyone in history?
My daughter.
Just anybody.
It's gonna be my daughter. She's my favorite little aviator. She's excited about aviation, inspired by it. If she finds out I went flying and she was available and there was an open seat, she's 10 and I get the silent treatment for like 3 days. I mean, she just eats this stuff up. And so my ultimate goal, and sounds silly, but I want to take my daughter flying. I want to go and do a loop or a roll, and I want to have a camera at the back and have her hair just flip up as we're rotating through the air. And that is what I want. And to hear her just squeal and have fun and then give her the controls and let her do it herself.
Should be the pilot in the future.
Yes, she out of all my kids, I think that she will be. So
Nice. We're having some issues with the camera here. I know what's happening.
Yeah, it's like zooming in my
And zooming in Ananda.
Oh.
Yeah.
When you zoom on Ricardo, better looking.
No, that's not true.
We have a guy asking Carl, when building your aircraft, thinking way ahead is very important. At what point do you actually prep for the level equipment you have now? When did you decide, I guess, you were using level?
with you guys, it was probably at the very beginning. I wanted to have something cool. I wanted to support smaller companies that are growing, companies that are doing great things in aviation. And so you guys are actually the first people that I reached out to saying, hey, do you guys want to be a part of this project? And you said yes. And it was at that moment that I then realized, okay, how am I going to do this? But when building an airplane, yes, there's a lot of steps. There's a lot of things that you have to do, and you have to do them in a specific order. Like for engine startup, there's a whole list of stuff that I've got to do before I can start the engine. But sometimes I'm thinking all the way over here at number 100, and I should really be focusing on number 2. So there's a lot of distraction along the way, but sometimes you have to have that distraction because you have to be thinking about all the pieces inside of the middle and all the parts that you have to order so that you can get through everything that you need to in a timely manner. Otherwise, if you only focus on one thing, you order the parts, you get that done, and then the next one, and so all you're doing is wasting money first off on shipping, but also wasting time because you could be doing so many other things at the same time. So I'm very blessed to have the ability to go to the airport for 6 hours plus a day if I wanted to. And sometimes I needed to, like before OSH this last year, I was there. Oh my goodness, it was an oven, a metal building that was an oven, but I was there for 8 hours a day preparing and getting videos made and preparing the airplane. So yeah, there's lots of processes, lots of steps, and you have to kind of think of it as a whole picture, but still be focused on what you need to get done to be able to get to the end. So yeah, it's a mess.
That's perfect. That's perfect. We're getting a little bit towards the end now. If you guys have any questions for us or for Carl, just let us know. I do have one here. I've heard that the AP isn't compatible with flappers configuration aircraft. Is this true? Also, when will the Joy ever have aileron trim? Maybe a middle button that moves up and down or left and right. So
we released the Joy last week, people. Now we have to redesign it.
So we can do the aileron. But as far as flappers, we do have. I mean, we had a guy on one of our customers that also have flaperons, and he did he put two trim tabs, one on one side of the aileron, one on the other wing, and he was able to successfully fly the full autopilot with no problem. And now because you're using tool that provides a little bit more force. So there's a YouTube channel of the stuff that he did. If you want to check that out, we can post it on our website. I think it's posted on our website. So if you want to check that out, but we're probably getting to try that ourselves.
Yeah. As for the Joy, you currently can trim in roll using the app. Is this connected?
Yes.
We can show you. So the Joy currently only has a scroll wheel, and believe me, we thought about this. Should we add the roll trimming? But then because we only have one scroll wheel, it's like, well, if we trim up, is it trimming left or right? Like, it was confusing. It doesn't have. It's not the best design, the scroll wheel on the back, to trim for roll. So for that, we need to add something like you suggested, maybe a joystick on the Joy to trim up, down, left, right in a more in an easier way. So for now, if you go on your iPad, you click the trim button, and then you're able to trim. There we go. Up, down, left, right on the interface. You can also trim if you want an actual controller. We do sell a separate autopilot controller. It's called the AP controller on the website. And with that, you can trim up, down, left, right with a button or with a rotating button.
Yeah.
So there's that option. Now for the Joy, give us some time. We just released the new Joy on Friday. So I expect the new, Joy 2.0 in the future. But for now, we're not gonna have roll trim on there.
So Carl, let's talk about getting our last question here of the day. Let's talk about food. I like food. As you can see, I'm a foodie here. What would be your favorite in-flight snack? Well, so what would you take as soon as you take out? You're gonna do that cross country to Oshkosh. What do you take?
Oh man, probably the same thing I take on every trip: beef jerky.
Huh? I've heard that one a couple of times too. Get some proteins there. My sister was weird. She mentioned soup. I don't know how that works, but
I'm just imagining turbulence now and trying to eat a bowl of soup. Oh,
right. Now she's flying jets. Maybe she has that.
She puts autopilot on the jet.
Maybe she has that privilege of flying smooth air and getting some soup.
What would you take on a long flight?
Me? Oh man, I'll take empanadas all day. All day. I'll take.
One of my least favorite foods, that and cantaloupe.
What? I love empanadas, man. I will take empanadas all day, every day to every flight. And especially, I mean, whoever that Colombian restaurant right next to the airport is, every time I go fly, I have to go take an empanada. So
every time he goes flying.
Yeah, every time I go to work. So yeah, it's really good. I think that's all for us for today.
I would encourage everybody to go to Carl's YouTube channel. he is recording everything, like every step of the way of building this cup project, and he is using an iLevel AP. And it's really nice because you get to see how somebody else is incorporating all this technology and how easy it is to basically install a complete glass cockpit in
I was going to tell you guys something too. I've decided to one up your installation video, so watch out for that.
Oh, let's see. I love that. Bring it on.
Bring it on.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So if you guys have any questions right now, we have a store-wide sale on our online store. So if you go to levilaviation.com, we're gonna have 15% on all of our instruments and accessories and all that stuff. So go ahead and check our website. The deal might end sometime soon, but go ahead, get that 15% discount. If you have any question, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always here, Nanada's here, and we have a team in the back always answering any questions that you might have. Or if you want to send us an email, aviationsupport@levil.com. If you have any questions for installation or any things that will go with your units, just let us know. And also, you can ask other pilots what they're doing, right? So we have a Facebook community group where you can ask what they're doing with the installation, what type of, if the type of airplane that you have, somebody might have as well done an installation before. So that's something that you can ask all the other pilots. And you can check out our social media, Levil Aviation, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of that stuff. So just make sure you go to all of our social media. And yeah, you get a 15% discount. Levil Aviation store-wide is applied when at checkout. So yeah, something to
Nothing.
say? Well,
I just thank Carl for being here and trusting in our technology and taking us with you on this journey. And I am very excited to see you fly on April or May or later if that doesn't happen. And yeah,
My ultimate goal is to have it at Osh this year, so we're
We
really
are-
excited for
we're
that.
definitely rooting for you. And
yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for being here today. All that stuff, if you want to rewatch this video, it's going to be on our YouTube channel. So go ahead and subscribe to Carl's channel as well if you want to see the whole journey. And until the next live.